I really, really don't like running. My wife and I, with our baby in tow, moved to Amman, Jordan in 2019 to teach at the American Community School. Bam! COVID hit, and we were trapped. No climbing, no skiing, no surfing, no travel. Getting in or out of the country was a non-starter. I had to stay active, so this was my hamster wheel. I ran despite my feelings about it. It was Groundhog Day. I taught online, I trudged on my wheel, around and around and around. My hamster wheel served its purpose, but I had to jump off or I was going to go nuts. Just 10 kilometers from my hamster wheel was a section of the 675 kilometer long Jordan Trail, or JT for short. The Jordan Trail starts at Jordan's northern border with Syria. Its 8 sections snake between the Jordan Rift Valley and the Jordanian Plateau, all the way to Jordan's southernmost beach city of Aqaba along the Red Sea. Historians believe Moses, Jesus, and Mohammed all walked sections of this trail. However, it was only officially mapped, marked, and marketed in 2015 when the Jordan Trail Association was established. Developed for tourists, the trail gives you a fascinating and far more intimate understanding of a unique terrain. A land that has been crossed by traders, bandits, and prophets. A land that has absorbed the blood of warriors and civilians. A land that has inspired religion and poetry for millennia. The trail traverses thousands of years of history, and yet is in its infancy. The red and white trail markings, or blazes, only appear on certain sections of the trail and cannot be relied on for wayfinding. Just making sure you stay on the Jordan Trail is a big part of the adventure. My hamster wheel got me from practically zero to running half marathons every other week. My daughter was getting older and therefore didn't need as much attention at home. It was time to make a decision. Go crazy on my hamster wheel or do something crazy. I was going to run the damn thing or die trying. I searched the web for information on how to even start running the Jordan Trail. I stumbled upon this YouTube video about Amy Sproston. She holds the fastest known time, or FKT, to complete the Jordan Trail. She did it in 8 days, 9 hours, and 28 minutes. In her YouTube interview, Amy seemed just like a normal lady.
I've let myself just be fairly lazy and kind of do what I want to do.
I thought that I should get to know her and see if I could follow her footsteps. After a week of Strava stalking Amy, I got a hold of her. She added me to the Jordan Trail WhatsApp group and invited me on my first JT adventure. Her and her friends in the group were planning on completing Section 8 of the Jordan Trail. I cut down my running a week in advance to get ready to push my limits. But a couple of days before my first taste of the trail, the trip got postponed. With no takers, I decided I would go it alone and attempt one of the closest sections to Amman, the 62.4 kilometer long Section 2, from Ajloun to Salt. According to my current running times on the streets of Amman, I figured I could run the distance in about 6 hours. If I left my house at 4 a.m., I would be on the trail by 6 a.m. and then back at the house for a late lunch. Easy. I'm at the top of Ajloun Castle, about to start a 60-plus kilometer run to Salt, which is Section 2 of the Jordan Trail. I'm pretty nervous, no idea where I'm really going. I think it's out that way somewhere. Go south, right? I better start running. I forgot to hit the timer on my watch. Started the watch, and we are off. It was my first time at Ajloun Castle. My first time on the Jordan Trail, my first trail run guided by GPS, and my first time attempting a run over 42 kilometers. What I lacked in experience, I made up for in enthusiasm and short shorts. South from Ajloun Castle, the trail drops down 300 meters into Ajloun Valley. From there, the trail takes you straight into a steep uphill forest where GPS is essential to stay on track. The trail skirts the city of Njara before reaching the highest point of Section 2 at 1,053 meters and dropping down into the next valley. The trail is pretty hard to follow in several places. I was just off GPS by about 20 meters, I think. But using the GPS got back on track, I think.
I don't really know. That is a steep hill out of that valley between Ajloun Castle and this next peak. I'm, I think, going behind the peak now, so my last views of Ajloun Castle behind me, right there. Cows. Some nice off-road parts. Going through some kind of pine forest now. The only thing that sucks is I feel like I have to keep checking the GPS. Make sure I'm on the right road. We should mark these guys.
This was a problem. I had to run with my phone out the entire time so I could follow the GPS. I had 2 spare batteries, but if I ran out of juice, I'd be lost.
Just finished the first section, section 201. Ends up in this little village with a bridge down in the bottom valley, and then looks like I take a left up this trail. Here we go.
Section 201 was finished. It was 10:40, so I had been on the trail for an hour and a half. Not bad for how steep up and how steep down the trail was.
Feeling it at the 20K mark. Gotta stop and eat lunch. Where's that reservoir? I'm eating a sandwich. Big hills coming up on 28 kilometers.
The King Talal Dam, located just to the right of this reservoir, was the end of section 202. It started to sink in that these Jordan trail runs were much tougher than I thought.
This is the hill after the dam.
From Ajloun Castle, I had gone 32 kilometers, but it had taken me 6.5 hours, and I was now at the lowest point of the day alongside the reservoir. I slogged up that hill. I got to the top, but was beat. I was out of food, out of water, and almost out of batteries. The GPS was telling me to ditch the road and take a path down into another valley. I told the GPS a couple of things and hitchhiked back to Assault. The rest of section 203 and 204 would have to wait.
We are just about to start section 8 of the Jordan Trail.
Our rescheduled Section 8 run was happening, but a little late for my taste. It was 11:30 a.m. and already close to 40 degrees Celsius. Amy didn't seem to mind and took off. I immediately adopted the motto, if Amy runs, I run.
She's not messing around.
She was the only one who had done this section before and made it obvious that she meant business. She was also navigating, which meant I didn't have to, and I could save my phone battery for when I needed it.
Crazy hot.
I was excited and a bit nervous. It had been 3 weeks after my disastrous introduction to the Jordan Trail. While I was revitalized and ready to run with some of Amman's finest, this was going to be a huge weekend. Section 801 starts with an 8.6 kilometer run across the burning hot desert flats of Humaima. Then it crosses the desert highway where the sand gets deep for another 10.4 kilometers, ending at the famous arch of Jabal Karaz. We were just getting started. Amy, followed by Max and Jason, led me into the Valley of the Moon. It greeted us with its ghostly silhouettes of wind-carved sandstone. The iron oxide sand was beautiful, but deep. Welcome to Wadi Rum. Wadi Rum, literally a high and dry valley in Arabic, is known for its otherworldly landscapes that have been shaped by centuries of wind and water erosion. The towering sandstone cliffs, natural arches, and red sand dunes inspired the ancient civilization that called this place home, the Nabateans. The cinematically famed Lawrence of Arabia, and continues to inspire modern-day adventure seekers. We had been running for 3 hours, covering 19 kilometers. Jabal Karaz, also known as the Giant Rock Bridge, was the end of section 801. It was also a perfect stop for a quick lunch, some pictures with camels, and then it was back on the trail, a mix of 4x4 tracks and no trail at all. From Jabal Karaz, we had more sand, more impressive sandstone towers, and 16 kilometers to reach the small town of Shakriya. As we left Jabal Karaz, the wind started to pick up. Michael, in the Yellow Gators, Amy, Max, and I pushed through severe headwinds, and marveled at the magnificent scenery until we reached the end of 802 at the small town of Shakriya. Amy was guiding and still out front. From the town, we had another 12.1 kilometers to get to Rum Village. For some reason, I thought it was just 5 kilometers to Rum Village and our camp, so I took off. Before I knew it, I was all alone and way out front. As I was chugging along, a couple of kilometers later, I heard footsteps. Out of nowhere, Amy came up from behind, passed me, and disappeared over the undulating hills. Another reality check for an overconfident recreational runner. That was a hit to the ego, but not close to the pain of the distance we had left. Past Wadi Rum village, we were back into deep sand. Everyone was passing me now.
Getting close to 50K. Around like 48K. It's getting dark out here, but we just hit 50K. Thank you for helping lead the charge. Well done, dude. Well done, you lads. Maybe 5 more kilometers.
The sun had set on us and my runner's high. From the edge of Rum Village, the last 5 kilometers, actually 8, took an hour and 46 minutes. The final 20 meters was straight up a comically steep sand dune. We pitched our tents and crashed hard. We clambered out of our tents like newborn giraffes and instinctively began our run.
Yeah.
The deep, dark sand and massive mesas gave way to desert brush and scattered rocks as we left the Wadi Rum Reserve.
Day 2, about 14 kilometers in. Feeling pretty good. Feeling great, actually.
The first section of the day is always the easiest. It was 20.6 kilometers from when we woke up to when we finished 803. After trudging through the desert red sand of Wadi Rum, we came out on a plateau, and then the trail continued down a pebbly seasonal river drainage between a narrow valley. The downhill was nice, but it was really starting to heat up. When the valley opened up, we arrived at the Bedouin town of Titan, where no one was stirring. In the midday sun, we couldn't find a square centimeter of shade, which made our lunch real quick. Back on the trail, we passed a bone-dry reservoir, then followed an old shepherd's path into some scrambly hills. Again, my legs, phone, and desire to run were drained as we climbed the final hill to the appropriately named final camp. I tried to keep up with Amy, but her walking uphill was a brisk jog for me. I fell behind and got to camp about an hour after she arrived.
He's cool.
It was still before sundown. We found this guy while pitching our tents.
King's a female.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Tiny.
Just have a feeling.
Start of the last day, Red Sea.
It was rejuvenating to see the Red Sea. From our viewpoint, the trail dropped down, 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 through steeply eroded wadis, out through some flats, and a final climb with some scrambling. As we got to an industrial center, we thought that we lost Mary and Floor, hence the hike back up. But they had just missed us along the path and continued toward the Red Sea. We saw some camels, then blasted down the drainage valleys. I was running like the wind, which was surprising after completing close to 100 kilometers over the last 3 days. It was my fastest 5 kilometers of the entire trip. As we approached the beach, we gathered and all finished Section 8 together. While I had mostly kept up with Amy on the run, it was clear that she and her running abilities were in a far different league than mine. But I was inspired. I got pro tips on ultra runs and began my countdown. Only 6.5 sections left of the Jordan Trail.
Back on the Jordan Trail. I'm about 3 kilometers in today. I started off right up there. That's where I ended the beginning section of section 2. It's gorgeous so far this morning. Quiet, peaceful.
I had started where I left off. The trail, as usual, continues up and down bucolic hills, through some pomegranate tree farms, and past the Remamine waterfall. You finish section 203 in the mixed Christian and Muslim village of Remamine. From there, it would be another 14.5 kilometers to Salt, but I still had about that many kilometers left to get to Remamine.
After a short stint on the country roads, you're on the country paved roads. Yee-hoo! Gotta keep running.
Everything was nice and serene until... These dogs were very aggressive, and I had to keep an eye on them as I continued down the road. Even with the occasional aggressive dog and aggressive turkey, there is a meditative state that comes along with running. On the Jordan Trail, my mind would often wander to the navigators, explorers, and tradesmen of ancient history whose path I now share. I was out here too, finding my way. I was finding my way even when the Jordan Trail markings were not sure which way to go.
Trail marker. Here we go that way. Correction. Looks like it goes this way. Beautiful pomegranate trees for days.
Remamine is a quaint little town that you enter as quickly as you leave. I had finished 203 and was on to 204. The trail follows the main road that leads from Remamine to Salt, along frequented paved roads, until you veer off onto a country road, and then a sharp right turn takes you straight up a steep mountainside. There's a bit of a plateau, then more and more uphill, until you reach the highest point of the day at 1,022 meters. From there, it is a knee-swelling descent into a Salt. At that point, I was struggling to find my way up the mountain of no trail.
I was doing so good, but again, man, these last kilometers killing me.
At the bottom of these stairs, my battle with section 2 would be complete. Now, only 6 sections of the JT to go.
Early morning, and I don't want to hurt. 5:30 a.m. Everybody's ready to rock and roll. Section 301. There you go.
It felt good to get back on the trail. The moon was shining, the birds were chirping, and it was a cool morning. Brian and Flor, Martin, Christina, Silke, and I got the blood flowing on the first hill. Section 301 heads south, but uphill out of Salt. The trail is a mix of road and goat paths. It undulates across the main fall line of the slope that goes from the high plateau of Amman sprawl down to the Jordan Valley. The land is a mix of bucolic fields, unfinished mansions, olive groves, and new settlements. The trail ends at a relatively unknown 2nd century BC palace called Iraq al-Amir. We had 22 kilometers to go and already had some navigation problems.
It's telling us to go straight. We don't know whether to go off the road or on the road. I've already lost 3 people. No, 2. That's good. I thought I was one of them at first. First signs of the beer factory.
Jordan has very few microbrews. However, Karak, arguably the best, is located just out of reach of this section of the Jordan Trail. With no chance of a beer stop, we kept on running. Amy wasn't on this run. However, as we traced her footsteps, I couldn't get over how far and how fast she ran on her fastest known time. My biggest days on the Jordan Trail were 50 kilometers and required all sorts of recovery. During Amy's record run, she was crushing 50 plus miles a day for 8 days in a row. I don't know how she did it.
We are hitting the halfway point. 12 more kilometers to go.
I was feeling my knees again, and the final downhill into Iraq al-Amir was so steep I had to zigzag down the pavement. Others got ahead, but we all finished at the same time.
Just made it to Iraq al-Amir. We are done for the day. 23-ish kilometers.
Christina was on the Section 8 run, but this was the first time I had heard of her end-of-section handstand tradition. More to follow.
All right, we're about to start 302. Jason and Brian back there. We're at Iraq al-Amir, but it's dark and you can't see anything. So we'll wait till the sun comes up.
The sun was up, and so were the goats. We were off trail.
Oh no, it says 300 meters. Sorry. It's 300 meters, there was a turn.
300 meters back. Okay.
Resuming.
Once again, Jordan Trail. we started talking about sheep and dogs. All of a sudden we missed a corner. Gotta pay attention to the map at all times.
At the bottom of the wadi, we crossed some water, a telltale sign that more steeps were coming.
All right, making it look easy. Jason on the edge.
Started the big incline, 5K uphill.
Just crossed the road. It goes down to the Dead Sea. And there's more uphill. We're about halfway up the really, really steep part.
Still grinding up the hill, we passed some unmarked ancient tombs. Since the start of our day at Iraq al-Amir, we had gone the wrong way, dipped way down into a wadi, crossed the water of the wadi, started our ascent out of the wadi, crossed the Dead Sea Highway, and now reached the highest point of the day at 716 meters. From there, we would continue 10 more kilometers perpendicularly crossing even more wadis until we reached Huzban. Wadi means valley in Arabic, but it was starting to feel like it meant a valley with more uphill than down.
Trail marker, yeah. So like, it stopped raining, and it was just like, okay. Getting certified. So
Finally, a well-marked trail.
like in and out of the Cedar Pride and.
Dogs on the Jordan Trail are a huge hazard. Sometimes the shepherds call them off, but oftentimes you have to arm yourself with rocks. We came upon Abu Rudenia and its protruding rocks. It is believed that these rocks have been used by civilizations in the past to construct forts and houses, and what remains today is the result of cutting and utilizing the natural rock outcropping. According to the local residents of Huzban, there is a popular belief among treasure hunters that a hidden treasure is buried within the rock formation. The end of 303 feels like an unfinished subdivision sprinkled with some goats, but it still feels triumphant.
Brendan and the ladies today. 19.8 kilometers over Mount Nebo. So it should be a good time.
Jess, Teo, Silke, and Christina running hot out of the gate.
Mount Nebo. There, going down and then a big climb up. It's Moses' spring.
According to the Bible and historians, this is the spot where Moses slammed his staff on the stone so the thirsty Israelites could get some drink.
Wow. That's very deep. The trees are awesome. I know, right?
The morning had gone by fast. After a bit on paved roads, the drainage led us to the bottom of our first hill at Moses Spring. From there, we had to climb 200 meters to Mount Nebo, perched on a precipice. The roller coaster would continue with a 400-meter drop to the bottom of Wadi al-Mukayyet, then 500-meter ascent to the highest point of the day at 790 meters. From there, we would complete a 500-meter descent to Uyun al-Thib. At that point, we were still scrambling up Mount Nebo. I give you Christina, Jess, Silke, and Teo, the ladies of the Jordan Trail.
Boobs! What's so attractive about boobs?
I was not.
We then came upon the Kanesei Church and its associated tombs.
You never know.
Wow. This is crazy, though. I share your fear
About
that
12K in, found the first Jordan trail marker.
Yeah, starting the last big climb of the day. Here we go.
On these hills, you try to run as much as possible, but they are so big you eventually start walking. It happened so often that the running group called it John Posting, in honor of a runner, John Post, that made sure every time he hit a steep hill on the Jordan Trail, he would walk it. Ankle-breaking rock fields and barking dogs. You gotta love the JT.
Just finished.
It was a little under 21 kilometers, so we just sprinted a kilometer loop, get our half marathon in, and now we have to do.
What better place for a photo shoot than a water truck? Again, I give you the ladies of the Jordan Trail.
Silky's getting ready. Got Mohammed who brought us here. He's all ready for us to go. I think it's going to be like 27 kilometers today, which usually works out to be more than we think it is. It's supposed to be rocky and a bad road today, but we'll see. Last section of 304.
Yay. Let me make a bet. 5 hours.
5 hours, okay. Silky says 5 hours. We'll see.
Enjoy your time.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. See you later. Okay.
All right.
Ciao.
Synchronized swatches.
While I was waiting for my GPS to turn on, I was thankful that we had met Mohammed. He is an excellent, dependable driver that knows the Jordan Trail extremely well. I highly recommend him if you are looking to complete sections of the Jordan Trail from Amman.
Yeah, take your time. No rush.
Oh, well, I'm fine.
Well, now it's a rush because you said 5 hours. It's funny, we used to get up at 5 and we'd get to the beginning of the trail within like 15 minutes, half an hour, and it'd still be dark. But now the trails are so far from Amman. When we get there, sun's already coming up, so don't need a headlamp. It's supposed to be hot today too, like 32 degrees. And I think that's in Amman, which means down here by the Dead Sea, it's gonna be a lot hotter. Getting down to the first wadi. Looks like we gotta go up the wadi.
We were really out here, just us and the snail shells, several kilometers from a road. This would be a bad place to fall. Silke fell. Falling is a rite of passage on the trail. No matter how careful you are, there are rocks to kick, loose pebbles to slide on, and nothing to do but get up and go.
Slick section. Silke's up after a nice dive. Woo! First sun, we're 5K in. Only one fall.
Silke didn't let on for the rest of the day and wouldn't get it confirmed until the next day, but that fall caused a major concussion on her shoulder, hip, and thigh, causing an elevated heart rate and nausea for the next 17 kilometers.
We are on the Roman road and it is nice. Sun's coming up. It is 7:40 in the morning and you can feel that it's going to be a hot one. Now come to think of it, I think that might be the old Roman road right there.
The Roman roads were built between the 1st century BC and the 7th century AD. Historians admit that the Roman roads may appear superficially indistinguishable from a medieval pilgrim road or roads from the Ottoman period. Nevertheless, packed fieldstones set between two parallel curbs of larger rocks and with a central spine is the characteristic feature of the Roman road. However, the sole indisputable evidence of the existence or identity of a Roman road is milestones. Unfortunately, at the time, we were not on the lookout for milestones, but instead avoiding injury.
Seems like the Romans haven't been here in a while. There are ankle breaker rocks everywhere.
Silke was definitely feeling her fall. Every time she tried to run, she felt nauseous and would have to walk or sit down. We made it up a huge ridge. On top was Mayin Street, a somewhat highway that could have taken us right back to Amman. It wasn't the end of 304, but would get Silke off her feet and avoid what looked like a monster downhill into Wadi Zarqa Mayin. She said she wanted to finish.
We're starting the descent down into the big valley over here. Ooh.
In true Jordan Trail fashion, the walk down was way farther and took longer than we expected. We took our time and eventually made it to the water at the bottom of Wadi Zarqa Mayin.
Section 3 is complete.
Yay!
Yeah.
Done.
Awesome. Gorgeous
And
spot.
5 hours, I'd say.
Yeah.
So, on my bed.
Silke won her bet, and Section 3 was complete. We had to hike out 2 kilometers to the road where Mohammed was waiting to pick us up. According to my countdown, I only had 5 sections left of the Jordan Trail.
We are here at the entrance to Karak Castle. It was about a 2-hour drive from Amman. It's our starting point. There's a horse right there. And today's a huge day. I think it's gonna be like 47, 50 kilometers. Sun's out, but there's some clouds coming in that direction that look like the start of a really bad movie. Maybe this bad movie. Here we are at Karak Castle. This is the actual castle. And then there's some evil looking clouds back over there, but we'll see. Hopefully we'll see those later. Oof.
Amy out front, Floor, Christina, Samir, and Jason and I had a plan to tackle the entirety of Section 5 in 2 days. This first day, we would go from here, Karak Castle, and head south, climbing our way up to a plateau. Once on top of the plateau, we would skirt a cliff band that dropped down to the Dead Sea. We would reach the highest spot of the day at 1,280 meters before zigzagging and more zigzagging our way down to the bottom of Wadi Al-Hassa. From there, it was a long, straight and constant uphill to another plateau and our camping spot at Karak. Our goal was 48 kilometers to Karak, but at this point, my goal was just keeping up with the group. Karak Castle was built in the 1100s to control Bedouin herders, as well as the trade routes from Damascus to Egypt and Mecca. It was built on a hill, so luckily for us, the first part was straight down. However, Jordan is full of valleys, and soon enough, we were going straight back up.
I think we're 3K into the run, 4K. Steep hill out of the valley. Amy, so fast up these hills.
We came upon the abandoned city of Khirbet Aynun.
Little abandoned city.
According to oral histories, the Mahadin clan, who lived in caves in the vicinity, built the first house in the village in 1915. The town thrived until the 1960s when more modern houses were built higher up on adjacent hills. I couldn't find any records of what was happening in this room, although it must have been recent.
Stay here tonight?
Yeah, I thought we could just put our mattresses in here, make a little fire. Someone was in here a lot of days.
Wow.
Is that what that is? You think?
Yeah. Holy crap.
That's crazy.
What's that?
Someone was tracking time for a long time.
Whoa. This is like prison cell.
Oh.
The more time you spend admiring the archaeological gems along the JT, the later your end of day becomes. With over 43 kilometers left to go that day, it was time to get a move on. Across the plateau of rocky farmland to the crest of Wadi Al-Hassa. Wayfinding on the Jordan Trail, even with GPS and someone who has run it before, requires constant attention. Being off the trail a smidgen can result in dead ends, wasted energy, and add hours to your day.
We are at about 24 kilometers. I'm starting to remember that I only like runs that are about 20 kilometers. Fact. Just finished section 501. Feeling okay. Knee is a little sore. Gotta stretch more, I think is what it is.
In addition to the company treks, Samir, the guy in the bright jacket, usually had his friend's bright yellow truck supporting us. It was always a welcome sight as we knew it was packed with menaish, waters, and sodas. After a quick lunch, it was back on the road. The kilometers clicked by, down, 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 into Wadi Al-Hassa. We crossed Wadi Al-Hassa.
I love how the first river, we're all like careful and
Followed the road through the cattails, went past the Barbaita Bath Resort, and finally through a hoppin' tomato outpost.
Assalamu alaikum. Kafalik. Hala hala hala.
Up past some caves, and those clouds that I had mentioned earlier caught up to us.
Amy is blasting. I'm trying to keep up with her, but it's tough. Whew. I think we're 34 kilometers in, maybe. Actually, maybe 40. Getting close to a marathon. Started at 7 this morning. It is 4:35 at night, and we're done. It's about 48 kilometers. Yeah. Oh.
I finished and almost got hit. Yeah.
The forecast was for more rain, so instead of roughing it in tents at this intersection called Karak, we headed into the town of Tafilia, where we stayed the night at Hotel Ferris.
All right. Early morning, 7 o'clock. We are starting 5:03 and 5:04 today. I think it's about 21 kilometers, first 12 kilometers on road.
When Amy runs, I run.
Tafilia City Center.
I almost got eaten by geese.
Yeah, the geese went after Flora big time.
These dogs were relentless and sniffing at our heels even with the barrage of rocks we were throwing. Thankfully, they realized we weren't there to steal their sheep.
Go straight down.
So after lunch, it's that sucker.
We dropped down on the outskirts of the hillside village of El Ain El Beida to the Edomite ruins at Sela and Mitan, at the current location of the Matan Eco Village. This signaled the end of 503.
Well, the whiskey is gone.
Honestly, anything that's green, I'm like,
We did the after lunch waddle, followed by very careful steps on a steep slope heading to the Seek of Wadi Matan. It took precise navigation to get us to the wadi.
I experienced it. I did not see the beauty.
We wanted to explore the Seek, but our GPS told us that this was not the direction of Dana.
I'd say an enjoyable way, just that. It's like, wow, it looks like people climb.
Look at this.
We retraced our steps out of the Seek. Since the morning when we left Karaka, we had already run through Tafilia, wound down kilometers of paved hills, climbed up a mountain where we got chased by the dogs, and ran through some mist. We continued running along the outskirts and then through the city of Al Ain Al Beida, had lunch at Matan Eco Village, and made it to the lowest point of the day in the Seek at 600 meters above sea level. At this point, if I would have known how long, steep, and brutal the final uphill section to the Dana Reserve was, or checked my maps to see that it was a 900-meter rise over 10 kilometers to the highest point on the Jordan Trail at 1,502 meters, I don't know if I would have continued. The climb just kept going and going. Across a small valley from the small town of Basira, we pushed upwards.
Such a big hill. And every flat part or mellow uphill, Amy would start running. I have to try and keep up with her. Hopefully we're getting close to this ridge where it's downhill to Dana Reserve and finish with section 5. Yay.
Cresting over the hill was a relief and awe-inspiring. I had never been to the Dana Biosphere Reserve before, and this was quite a way to make an entrance. But it wasn't time to relax yet. It was another 3.5 kilometers of downhill to the village of Dana.
Yeah.
You can see a few people down there, but you just snake down.
After Amy left me hanging, We had some food and a shower at the Dana Tower Hotel and waited for the others to finish.
Yeah.
Section 5 was complete. Only 4 left to go.
Nice, guys. Hey.
Upon first look, I thought our driver was puking, but I should have known. It was prayer time. For this run, we wanted to leave Amman in the late afternoon, drive the 3+ hours to Petra, and stay that night at the Amarine Bedouin camp so that we could get a good night's rest. Our loquacious host Hussein, the camp owner and dictator, had different plans. At 11 p.m., he honored us with his coffee ceremony.
Tonight you will follow my rules, and in my tent.
Dawn came early as we made our way to the Petra entrance. "6:30 a.m. We've been up since about 5. We're doing Petra to Wadi Rum, section 7. And it's colder than I thought it would be. We got 12 people. It should be awesome. Yeah, it's rock and roll. People are getting their tickets now.
Miracle. And this is why we say 6, because they're like 9:30 or like 6, like at 6:40.
Park. Again, I was trying to stay up front. Today, it was with the babes in blue, Amy and Naomi. I had never run with Naomi before, but learned quickly that she was also a trail burner. Petra's Seek, the narrow gorge, is one of the grandest entrances to any man-made or natural site on Earth. Every single time I come here, I am in awe of its depth, mystical history, and what lies at its end. Carter, a new runner with this group, had already taken a fall and had to patch up his booty in front of the treasury. Oh, if the Nabateans could see us now.
Gotta be careful on the Jordan Trail. Big group. Have to get going.
From the treasury, we went further into the UNESCO site along the Street of Facades, a row of monumental Nabatean tombs carved into the south cliff face. We took a sharp left onto the High Place of Sacrifice trail. This steep staircase leads to the High Place of Sacrifice, and at 1,034 meters would be our highest point of the day. Down the steep stairs on the backside of the ridge, we passed the Lion Fountain, went down even steeper stairs, went past the Roman tomb, and filtered out through Wadi al-Farasa. We reached the southern edge of Petra, and it was out into wild country along a portion of the trail that leads up to Jabal Harun. The dogs on this trail were a bit different. There were 2 puppies and this one particular dog who had followed us from the visitor center. They were kind of acting as our guard dogs and definitely looking for their golden ticket out of Petra. With the number of softies in this running group, they had a good chance. The moon was setting as we all welcomed the sun to warm our bones.
Wait a minute and then walk slow.
Lengthen it, and it'll pop. Magic!
Magic!
12 kilometers from the Petra entrance, down through Wadi Sabara, we came across the Sabara Amphitheater and Cistern. You couldn't help wonder what amazing artifacts could be found if we had a second to spare. We didn't.
Feeling awesome. Nice sunny day. Cool canyon. Everybody's cruising.
Everyone was cruising. Understandably, on a 50-plus kilometer day. So I was constantly hanging in the back to get a shot and then sprinting to catch up. I knew that if I stayed with the front runners, mentally I could run with them. If I fell behind, mentally it would be game over for me. It was time to catch up.
Assalamu alaikum.
Finally, a shot of Amy from the front. We found our lunch spot with the Trex truck. Trex is the company that provides support for our big runs. And Samir's yellow "You've Made It" mobile. This was an area called Ras Mabrid. Lunch signaled the end of 701.
Shukran.
Shukran.
Masalama, habibi.
After lunch, we dipped down into a wadi, then a squeeze through some tight sandstone boulders. After popping out of that, we wound through boulder fields and came upon the underground-fed spring Ain El O'Rourke, where there were camels relaxing springside.
From Monastery again.
White sandstone plateaus allowed us to make good time. When we entered the wide Wadi Al-Saif, we slowed down due to the long climb on a pebbly slope. Once the trail narrowed, it signaled the end of 702. We didn't even notice.
Brian just completed his first marathon. Fast people took off. Slower groups behind me. And I'm probably going even slower because I am beat.
I was no longer a front runner. Mentally, it was game over. Physically, all I could do was put one foot in front of the other. From the Petra entrance gate, we had seen the sights and ran the stairs to the high altar of sacrifice. We had ran almost the entirety of Wadi Sabara, finished section 701, squeezed through the narrow wadis and ran across the white sandstone plateaus. We finished section 702 at the top of Wadi Al-Saif. Now, after approximately 47 kilometers, everyone passed Brian and I. Then it got dark. My phone died. Brian's phone died. We were just meandering through the wadis in the dark, no headlamps, no phone lights, and with no idea where we were going. Luckily, the wadi was filtering us to the campsite. That, and we caught up with another one of the slower groups that was also a bit lost. I vowed that tomorrow I would not finish in the dark.
All right, I'm about to start day 2 of this run. Yesterday was like 52 kilometers, and it totally reminded me that I like 20 kilometers runs better. I was dying by the end, but we got everybody here, had an awesome sleep, except for some dogs barking. I want to get ahead because I know I'm not very fast right now, but everybody's taking forever.
It was early and cold. Only 42 uphill kilometers to go today. Miraculously, it felt decent. Ascending out of the campsite at Wadi Gaseeb was immediately steep and windy.
The world famous Mushroom Rock?
Mushroom Rock, there it is.
Or maybe a chicken. I think it's a mushroom.
The trail continued upwards through gorgeous cliffs,
We were only, I think 2.5K.
geological wonders, and then dramatically opened up to white
Holy
bluffs.
crap.
What better place to contemplate the deeper meaning of life and energy goo flavors?
What did it taste like? This one is cinnamon apple pie.
That's one you had yesterday. You said it was awesome.
And it
too.
tastes
really appeal to me
just like a cinnamon apple pie.
Really?
That's what I want to taste.
I mean, now that you're...
It's a very tiny opening right now, so you have to squeeze and suck, but
You have to work for it.
okay. As the rocks crumble to the ground.
I mean, you're also dealing with people who have a really short season.
Oh, the second trail maybe that goes down.
Yeah.
I saw a trail back there.
After kilometers of tight drainage sand tromping, we wound up on the powdery sand dunes of Wadi Rakia.
Well, this is like, I don't like the super loose ones.
We coasted down to the bottom of the next valley where the Trex trucks and Samir's yellow Jeep were waiting for us. Since the beginning of the day, we had come 15.6 kilometers. Through the winding uphills, the towering cliffs, and overlooked the white bluffs. We climbed up and across Wadi Rakia, and we're now faced with 26.3 kilometers of steep wadi climbing. I was tired, but about to enter my favorite part of the entire Jordan Trail, Wadi Aqaba. We would follow this wadi all the way to the Al Humaima Plateau, where we would pass the Abu Sabu homestay and eventually to the end of Section 7. We ate our lunch quickly, and I pushed on with the faster group, as I did not want to end today's run in the dark.
Avalanche territory. Is it still called an avalanche? It's just rocks?
It's called a rock slide.
Oh, that's way more boring.
Rock-a-lanche.
That's better.
Man, looking good.
The mud in this area was tested and confirmed slippery.
Oh, yep. I'd give it a one or two more shakes.
You're in. You might as well
Yeah.
take your pack off and take a bath.
Yeah.
About 30 kilometers into the day, we got into one of the most amazing slot canyons I've ever been in. There is a right turn up a steep sand slope that is easy to miss. It starts the steep climb to the highest point of the day on the Humaima Plateau. There, you are greeted by Bedouins at Abu Sabu Homestay, who tempt you with stopping early to enjoy their tent tea. Unfortunately, Section 705 ends 3.5 kilometers down a paved road. We had a decision to make.
You're gonna care.
I'm gonna care.
You're gonna care.
I'm gonna care.
I mean, Amy doesn't have to. She's done it before. Yes, the bus. That's the finish line. Right there. Nice. Nice.
Yeah?
We finished 705 before nightfall and made it back to Abu Sabu Homestay for a jam, time to see others run their last 3.5 kilometers, and sunset. Only 3.5 sections left.
All right, beginning of 103. Samir and I taking it on all the way to Ajloun. Here we go. 35K today. It looked like it was going to be sunny, but now it looks like it might be wet. Here we go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jordan trail marker on the right path.
We were moving. Trail markers, a little rain, and a little cold. This should be a breeze.
It's the first part of the Jordan trail I've been on that has this good of markings. All right, let's see. Really cool. Great trail markings. A little bit cold, a little bit wet. The trail's awesome. And yeah, 6 more hours to this. This arrow does not mean to turn that way. That takes you the wrong path for sure. Back on the good trail. We were cruising, thought we knew where we were. We were way off. It was about a kilometer out of the way, you think?
I had just bought a new running watch, but was still using the GPS on my phone for navigation.
Nice run.
Yeah, it was amazing. That's why we kept going. It didn't look.
This is why we kept on going. Yes.
I gotta get my battery out. My phone's not doing good in the cold.
We got turned around. It felt like we were running in circles. The cold, wet, and overuse of my phone caused it to shut down. Samir's phone had also been acting up since the beginning of our day in Beit Aidis, and thus far we had only made it to the forest that surrounds Wadi Zubia before both of our phones shut down due to the weather conditions. We were making wrong turns at every junction and backtracking to get on the Jordan Trail. At only 8 kilometers into the trail, we still had to navigate out of Wadi Zubia, descend into another wooded valley which led to the end of Section 103 in Rasun. Section 104 would take us through the town of Orjan and wind up in the town of Baun. Then we would encounter the steepest climb of the day that led up to our high point at 943 meters. Luckily, while we were turned around in Wadi Zubia, I remembered I had stored the GPX tracks for Section 103 and 104 on my watch. I set it to follow the tracks, and we made it all the way to Ajloun Castle without issues, nor camera footage. If you are attempting any portion of the Jordan Trail, I highly recommend getting a watch that has trail navigation on it. It definitely saved us that day.
Ramadan Kareem from Dana. We're gonna kick it off today, Dana to Petra. Should be 20 kilometers of downhill into a haboob, which is sandstorm in Arabic, which is actually an English word now as well. And we got a new crew today. Should be easy, but it never is. And it's always an adventure. What's his name? Bradley. Bradley!
From where the cars were parked, we ran less than 50 meters to the cliff that overlooked Wadi Dana and what we would be running through for the next couple of hours.
It is pretty, even with the big sandstorm coming in.
After the initial steep downhill, the trail is incredibly pleasant, winding up and down through Wadi Dana. Yet, it does feel like it goes on longer than it should. 15 kilometers in, Teo and I made it to Feinan Eco Lodge, where our Trek's company trucks met us for a resupply and cold drinks. Teo and I felt good. We left the Eco Lodge just as others were arriving. Within a kilometer of leaving the Eco Lodge, we also left the valley that protected it. The haboob punched us in the face.
Oh man, we just hit the open plateau by the Dead Sea. Wind's blowing, and it's so hot, the wind. Feels like Mars out here.
This tree is the location of the Wadi Malaga campsite and signifies the end of Section 601. Since the morning, we had dropped down 1,000 meters through Lombardy-style switchbacks, crossed ancient riverbeds, and finished running the entirety of Wadi Dana. We continued out the wadi, past the Feinan Eco Lodge, and then we were baked in the haboob. Now in the washout plains near the Dead Sea, we were at our lowest elevation of the day. Well, if nothing else, this trail is vertically symmetrical, as we now had 1,000 meters uphill to go. The ancient trade route would take us up some jaggedy switchbacks and then through some of the most impressive geology on the trail. Then we would have to tackle 2 monster hills that would lead to our campsite. But from the vantage point of this lone juniper, I was looking pretty wrecked already.
Just finished 601, starting 602 now. We have to go about 3.7 kilometers in on it to get lunch. This hot air and the wind is taking it out of me. Oof. What a great sight. I just ran with Dan, and Dan's fast. So I had to go fast. And now I'm tired. But lunch is here. Assalamualaikum.
Dan, Teo, and I did not wait for the others to dig into lunch, but soon enough they arrived. So did the goats. The trail was well marked with cairns here, as the Dana to Petra route is one of the most popular on the Jordan Trail. It skirted along the bottom of the Jordan Rift Valley until it took a turn, what felt like straight up, until it felt like it was going straight down.
And you think I'm the first one to think of mint chocolate chip?
I'm sure. Then the Neanderthals were like, oh, stracciatella.
This is what inspired you to start mint chocolate chip.
We took a small detour to a tiny pool atop a high waterfall.
Whoa. Oh. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Up for you. Good, huh?
That way to the waterfall.
I think it's really something that I really miss in Jordan, you know?
We turned and burned through Wadi Rum and finished section 602.
Hey.
Good
I
job.
was like, what are we doing?
Nice.
Now we don't know where the campsite is.
It was another 3 kilometers and 300 meters vertical to get to the campsite of Ras El Fid.
Yeah.
Based on what?
Based on what I read, it's even worse than yesterday.
Where did you read this?
On the Jordan Trail.
All right, we are about to leave this morning for 602. We got in last night. My phone died again. And then we had to hike up an extra 3 kilometers to Ras El Fid, where this campsite is. But really, we are way down the valley where we get back on the Jordan Trail again. So we'll head back down there this morning, get back on the trail.
It would be another marathon distance day on the JT. After dropping down from our campsite to get back on the Jordan Trail, we would be running some mountain spines that snaked south, undulating past impressive viewpoints. Roman ruins, Moab-esque slick rock, and would come in through the backside of Little Petra. From there, we would again climb through valleys and ridges to the back entrance of Petra, where we would be greeted by one of its most awe-inspiring sights, the Monastery. Through the ancient Nabatean site, we would pass the iconic treasury facade and exit through the entrance to Petra, finally ending up in Wadi Musa.
Big climb this morning. Holy cow.
I know. It's pretty nice, huh?
Teo and Dan are fast. I kept up and we covered the early kilometers quickly. We spotted some juniper trees. Teo tied her shoes. All in all, a great morning.
This is the highest spot of the trail, 1201.
Nice.
Very exciting and beautiful.
So we started way up there on that ridge. Went. That was an awesome run this morning.
Right? Like,
We took in the hawk-like views, and it was time to run. The smooth rocks were enjoyable to run on. The goats agreed. So when you do this trail, you have to come in from the backside of Petra, but you have to have your Petra tickets before. So right now we're trying to arrange with the guides over there where we're going to meet them for tickets to get into Petra. So I think we're going to meet them at Little Petra. Clambering down rocks led us to the backside of Little Petra. It was steep in sections, but definitely doable. With GPS. Dan took us to see some frescoes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fresco.
It was fun to take it slow and explore Little Petra as we exited through the front.
Yeah, finish 603 in the Bankskis. Now time to eat some hummus and pita. All right, we're now leaving Little Petra for Big Petra.
Section 604 is a popular route for trekking in Jordan. It is 13 kilometers long and takes you on the less touristy entrance through Wadi Rum, where you pass sandstone spires that guard the ancient city of Petra.
Hi, Brendan.
hello.
So you're going to be in my movie and I'm going to be in yours.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Wow.
We came up on a rise, and there it was, carved into the cliff face. The monastery.
That is sick. Oh my gosh. That's really cool coming in this way. Yeah. Made it to Monastery. Now we have to get to the treasury. Man.
After a bit of touristing, we headed down the Nabatean steps into ancient Petra. We reached the famous treasury, and it was roasting. Now, on a good day, touring Petra with the family, the hike out of Petra to Wadi Musa is tiring. Today, it was exhausting.
Congratulations. Done.
Hey, good job.
Yay. All done. Section 5? 6. Section 6.
All right, it's about 4:30 a.m. We got up at like 2:30 today to get to Wadi Zarqa. We're still on the road where we got picked up the last time we left the end of section 3. So to start at the beginning of section 4, we actually have to hike in maybe 15-20 minutes, and then it's straight up for like 8 kilometers. You ready for an adventure? Section 4 is called 3 Wadis to Karak. After we hiked into the trail start point at the bottom of Wadi Zarqa, we would start our first 3 big climbs for the day. The trail out of Wadi Zarqa would crest by some small settlements. The trail would then slowly transition to a long downhill valley slope to the bottom of Wadi Hidan. Once at the bottom of any of these wadis, the only way out was on foot. Out of Wadi Hidan, with 27 kilometers under our belts for the day, we would descend into the Grand Canyon of Jordan, Wadi Mujib. From the stream at the bottom of the wadi would be the climb of the Jordan Trail, the hill known by our running group as Ugly Cry Hill. It was going to be one heck of a 45-kilometer day. It's early. We're going to start 4:01 right now. See you in a bit. It was a pleasure hiking up this first big wadi as the sun was coming up. It was cool, crisp, and enjoyable. Awesome, early start. It's a pain in the butt, but it's nice to get out here early before the sun comes up and at least get this first hill done, I hope. Because it's gonna be a hot day. Right now it is awesome. Look at that. Sun's coming up fast though, huh? Yep. The Dead Sea and Jerusalem in the background. We hit a road and found our stride. We are a little off course because those dogs over there. I felt it would be safer to go around. Oh, we'll get back on it soon. Soon enough. We ran into the dogs. Now we're in the beginning of a wadi, which should lead down to the bottom of Wadi Hidan, unless we're on the wrong path, in which case we should be up there somewhere. On the side, it kind of steps down. This was Silke's first time back on the trail since her fall. We were both taking it easy on the walks down. Beauty. As long as it's not an ugly cry. Sweet Wadi Hidan. We reached the ridge going down into Wadi Hidan, and before we knew it, we were at the bottom. We reached the end of 401, 8:30 in the morning. It was about 3 hours and 30 minutes. And getting a quick refill with Mohammed, and then we're going up this guy. We passed some pink oleander flowers and started our climb out of Wadi Hidan. Looks like we're about a quarter of the way up the mountain, maybe a little more. Got some goats. Big wadi. All right, that big hill took us 1 hour and 36 minutes.
Dad.
We weren't moving too fast, just steady pace. Nice. Now I think we've got 3 kilometers, is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Till lunch. And there's Wadi Mujib and the rest of our afternoon.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Look at
That's huge.
Wadi Mujib and Ugly Cry Hill. The origin of this hill's name dates back to September 11th, 2020. Amy, Samir, Jess, Dan, Christina, and Danny attempted to run from the crest of 401 to the top of Wadi Mujib during a heat wave. After making it to the bottom of Wadi Mujib and soaking in the Wadi Mujib stream, they started their climb. Before they knew it, they were all out of water, out of energy, and out of patience. Christina had a physical and mental breakdown on the hill, and well, she did some ugly crying. A Bedouin man saw them from the top of the ridge, came down for assistance, and took them to the closest shelter where we had enough shade and water for them to cool off and eventually make it to the pickup spot. As Silke and I were feeling unbelievable for what we had accomplished so far, we took this picture mocking Christina. It must have cursed us, as soon enough we would be in a similar predicament.
We just had a nice lunch. Peanut butter, pita, banana, Coke, a Miranda. Now we gotta go all the way down and then all the way up Wadi Mujib to finish off the day. Here we go.
We started off with a kick in our step, which quickly turned into a delicate dance which only experienced Bedouin goat herders should try.
That cliff band right there was also a little tricky to get through. We came down right about there. Still going down.
5 kilometers downhill? We had planned on that taking us about 45 minutes, but that hill was so steep it took us 2.5 hours to reach the bottom of Wadi Mujib.
Yay, segment complete, 402 done, woo!
Oh, sorry. Great.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was a big hill to come down.
Steep. All right. Sorry, I think it would be good to sit in the shade.
Made it to the bottom. Stick our hats in the water. We got 13 kilometers on 403 before we can meet Mohammed. And it is hot. And it is very, very steep. And there's horseflies everywhere. Silke wants to stay longer, but I might have to tell her to get out of here because these horseflies are driving me crazy.
We were hot, tired, low on water, and way behind schedule. I tried to not be phased.
Oh man, you can see the top right through between those two. It's so far away. It's so steep.
Silke didn't let on, but she was heat stroking big time. I pushed her, and we were slow.
It is hot. We are tired. And there's 6 more K to go, but it's like 8 billion feet straight up from here. How many feet? How many meters?
736.
Damn.
We were moving slow as both Silke and I were having a tough time. The heat stroke was causing Silke to puke and take breaks to avoid puking again. I stayed with her for a while until I realized we were now getting close to sundown. Soon it would be dark. We didn't have headlamps, we were out of water, and I might have to go resupply with Mohammed. I also knew that if I was her, I would want to be left alone and not have somebody by my side giving me encouragement. She was tough and knew that the only way out of this wadi was on her own 2 feet.
Oh, holy crap. I think I'm almost there. This climb out of Wadi Mujib is no joking. Still down there, still somewhere. Holy crap. Oh, cannot wait to get to the car, get some cold water, chill out. Oh.
After one of the longest hill climbs of my life, I crested the ridge and had 3 more kilometers through an army of barking dogs to go before getting to our driver, Mohammed. I ran as fast as I could, knowing I needed to get headlamps and extra water and go back for Silke. Not to mention, Silke hates running through barking dogs in the daylight. I can only imagine at night. It took me longer to find Mohammed than I would have liked. I resupplied, ran back down to Silke, who had just crested the ridge. We both painfully and arduously laughed the 3 kilometers to the pickup point in the dark, lamenting over Ugly Cry Hill. The rest of section 403 and 404 would have to wait.
5:30 in the morning, getting ready to go backwards to end at the start, going 102 to 101, end at Qais.
This was Jess's last section of the Jordan Trail. We were all excited to see her finish. The trail started off on paved roads that overlooked the Jordan Valley.
A little marking on the trail.
Oh, yeah.
After a bit of a scramble to get down to the bottom of Wadi Rum, we crossed paths with a horse and eventually entered an open field where the sun was on the rise.
Pink one's over there.
The trail hugged the north side of Wadi El Jimra until we reached the abandoned ancient city of Pella. Inhabited since the Neolithic period, Pella was also an important city during Alexander the Great's rule, the Romans' Hellenistic period, and the Byzantine Empire. With about 30 more kilometers to go that day, there was no time to explore.
All right, well, that's our trail. Yeah, that's right. I'd really like to get by you guys. I think the big one's 400 meters. This feels, that could be that.
One of the big uphills of the day led us to a field that the GPS told us to cross. We were looking forward to the green hills of springtime. Turns out we were a month too late. All that was left was hip and armpit-high, brown, itchy, sticky wheat fields. My legs were not impressed.
Those legs. Yikes. Oh, Amir just got stung by a bee. Great day so far. Sitting down there?
Oh, I don't have a navigation. I just thought.
Okay, I guess I won't be following Jess, who earned the motto, always ready, never prepared. We eventually made it to the Ziglaub Lake Eco Park. Our support car was waiting for us. It was lunchtime.
Oh, it's hot out in the sun.
We had covered the 22.4 kilometers from Beit Edis, following the valleys that led down to Pella. From there, we had the biggest hill of the morning where the wheat fields were high. We came down that hill to reach one of the lowest parts of the Jordan Trail at 175 meters below sea level. From our lunch break below the Ziglaub Reservoir, we were in for two 400-meter climbs. The first climb would be up through the immense Wadi Daraba. It would end in a steep climb down to the Wadi al-Arab Reservoir. The second climb, which would start at the Wadi al-Arab Reservoir, would be our last climb of the day and Jess's last big climb on the Jordan Trail. It would lead to the ancient city of Qais.
We'll say
I hope
hello.
you get less wheat in the next 20K.
The others arrived at the lunch spot, but we were ready to hit up the last 25.5 kilometers of the day.
Beautiful bus stop. 7-Eleven.
It's all very hot.
The hill climb up through Wadi Daraba was hot, steep, and energy zapping. Honestly, I would have stopped and walked or sat down and cried if it wasn't for Naomi's consistent jogging.
Just came up a huge hill in the middle. I think it was our biggest hill of the day except for the last one.
Woohoo!
Woo, nice work.
I was not impressed with where the GPS was taking us, but we were definitely getting our Wheaties in. Thank you, Jordan Trail, for that awesome path choice. Naomi and I were far out front. Somehow, we missed our support car and chance at a water refill. We were out of drinkable water, but did find this busted pipe from the nearby Wadi al-Arab Reservoir. We decided to wait until the others caught up before tackling the last uphill 7 kilometers to Qais. That gave us some time to hang out with some local military dudes and, of course, cool off.
Oh, maybe I'm done for the day and I'll just get a ride up to Qais. Do that last part some other day. This is nice.
All right, we just got filled up with waters. We're leaving our shower spot finally after an hour. Shukran. Oh, look at those horns.
Whoa, those are impressive horns. Those are super impressive, actually.
Hey, كيف حالك؟ man, we just came around the corner, getting close to 50K for the day, and we see Qais, the start of the Jordan Trail. That's where we're finishing. I still have 29 more kilometers, but you know, who's counting?
The beginning of the Jordan Trail.
Nice.
Killed it.
Thank you guys.
Get it, girl.
Yeah!
Hey!
Woohoo!
50 kilometers.
We freshened up, walked up, and ate up at the Qais Rest House restaurant.
Okay.
Congratulations, Jess and everybody. All right, it is like 5 in the morning. What do you think? 4:30?
4:33.
Brian and I on the last section of 403 and then 404 today. So we should end up in Karak. Dogs know we're here already.
Brian and I started off where Silke and I left off. We had about 30 kilometers to go for the day, with the majority of the trail being on paved roads. It would pass by farmlands and villages, mosques and tiny convenience stores. There was no danger of running out of water, no insane wadis, no overgrown wheat fields, and the weather was to be cool and clear. The last 7 kilometers would involve a 400-meter drop into Wadi El Zayatin, followed by a 400-meter climb up to Karak Castle, where falafel and hummus shops would be open for business. The last day of my quest to complete the Jordan Trail was shaping up to be excellent and possibly uneventful.
We just finished 403, starting 404 now, so we got about 22 kilometers left for the day, and there's been so many dogs throwing rocks like crazy. I think we're at the start of our big downhill that leads to the big uphill that leads to Karak Castle. We're at like 20K already, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should have 7 kilometers left. Might be a little farther than. If you're on your way to Karak. Oh, we just put up a new Karen. What's up, Karen? Steep hill coming into Karak, past the main square. Guy on the horse. We're gonna take a left here. We should see the castle. Because of our wrong turn, I think we're a little over 29 kilometers. 8:30:31.
Alright, castle!
Hey, Sabah khair.
Assalamu alaikum.
Still doesn't say course complete. That's it, Jordan Trail. Woo! All done.
Good job, Brendan.
Oh yeah, baby. Let's go get some falafels, orange juice, and then maybe go get some beers and a tattoo. Sounds good.
Sitmiya Khamsa Usabayin, 675 in Arabic, the official length of the Jordan Trail from the Syrian border to the Red Sea. It was a fitting end for Christina, Jess, and I. Christina was about to move to Kenya, and Jess was about to move back to Atlanta, Georgia. As with any documentary that squeezes days of adventure into minutes, the smiles and struggles of those involved were only touched upon. But to have this experience with such a broad range of people in a country I was once unfamiliar with, well, the journey was deeply rewarding. While there are no Jordan Trail records in sight for this warrior struggling to remain consequential, I have a love and addiction to adventure running that I never could have imagined.
What's next?